Ladon Linde, the incumbent, Mr. Ladon Linde, in the house with us this morning. Good morning, Ladon. Thanks for coming in.
You bet. Good morning, Lance.
Yeah.
Good morning, Dave. Good to be here.
Good to have you. We have talked a couple times, given the issues that the commissioners have had to deal with, and people maybe were tuned in for all of that, but that doesn't mean, it's kind of confusing because it's sort of the lower valley, but yet you're also the heart of Yakima, too.
Yeah.
I mean, the district is weird. So for folks that haven't totally tracked your bio and all of that, give them this is who Ladon is in terms of what you were doing before, family, what you like to do to pass the time when you're not duking it out with Olympia and all of that stuff.
Yeah, very good. Well, I will tell you that I've lived in the Lower Valley for 45 years, with the exception of my time away at college and service as a missionary for my church, as a Christian missionary in South America, where I picked up Spanish, by the way, and I'm among other things, I'm a certified medical interpreter. But that's a small part of the story. My wife and I, Sandra, we've been married for 38 years. We have 6 children. I'll say that I'm pro-life, and we've put our money where our mouth is.
I guess you do.
We farmed in the Lower Valley with my parents. We had a family farm. We had about a dozen employees. I was the personnel manager there. Oversaw hiring, discipline, training, understanding labor law. Sold that in 2006 and went to work for the hospital in Sunnyside. And I started at Human Resources there due to my background in agriculture. Along with that, I was moved on to compliance and overseeing of the medical staff office there. So when we brought doctors in, I was the one who checked them out, vetted them, looked at their background references and all that, managed their schedules, committees, et cetera. Had some involvement in Republican Party politics over several years. My first vote for president was for Ronald Reagan, and I was happy to do it. He was a man who appealed to people, the positive side of people. He was positive and gung-ho on America. He was pro-life, and that was actually probably the thing that attracted me to the Republican Party, is that I believed it was a party of principle. And I've been there ever since. Helped manage a couple of campaigns for state representatives, such as Barb Lisk. I don't know if everybody remembers Barb or not, but many do. And Bruce Chandler, of course, and I remain good friends with them both. A lot of my time, aside from work, over the last several years has been devoted to my church, spending a lot of time in leadership, overseeing congregations, individual and regional congregations of our church. So I've had the opportunity between work and church to oversee, work with, and manage people, departments, organizations of considerable size. Yeah. And that's a good fit for county commissioner. But that's not really why I got involved or decided to get involved. It really it goes back to the COVID pandemic. Back in, housing's been an issue in Sunnyside for decades, not that we're unique in that sense, but I remember back in March and April, let me back up. In 2019, a lot of new housing developments going in. This is looking exciting. We're solving some issues, including some private, some nice upper end homes, medium to upper end homes, and thinking this is great. And then we get into the government shutdowns, and I'm seeing where we've got private construction is put to a halt and public construction can continue. We're seeing that Walmart's open. I don't have a problem with Walmart being open, but my friends that had small businesses that had their doors shut because they weren't deemed essential, and I think most of us would agree that if you have a job, that job is essential for you.
Sure thing.
And then
especially with all them kids. Just kidding.
Exactly. Well, yes. Yeah. But regardless of the size of the family, if you got a family to take care of, that job is essential. Sure. Yeah. And then and pot shops being open and the churches being closed. And this just started to grind on me. It really did, and frankly, continues to grind on me. But that's where I decided, maybe I do need to get involved, given the opportunity. And so when the unfortunate passing of Norm Childress happened, then I had some people approach me about considering it, and I decided, this is something worth getting involved in. And as you all know, COVID has been front and center in the last 8 months since I've been appointed. I mean, there's a lot to county government. I mean, and my background helps in the fact that we have over 900 employees. We got an annual budget of over $260 million. We have labor negotiations, which we have to do, and I have a background in that as well. So all those come into play, but there's so many other issues. We're dealing with the homeless issue, and what I've come to see is that drug abuse, frankly, in my opinion, is the biggest issue we have. Aside from getting through the COVID, and and really fully opening our businesses, schools, and our churches, but the drug abuse is an issue. It goes through. We see it in our hospitals, we see it in our courts, we see it in our prisons. 80% of the people sitting in those prisons that are repeat offenders, it's a drug abuse issue. And I'm not talking about possession. I'm talking about property crimes. I'm talking about domestic violence, and I'm talking about violent crime. Ties back. Yeah.
Ladon, describe yourself politically.
Well, I'm a conservative. I remember when Doc Hastings ran for office as congressman, he used to call himself a Ronald Reagan Republican, and I think I like, it's a good fit. But I don't know if I like to categorize myself other than say that I'm a conservative.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do want to mention is that I'm willing to stand up for things that have, when things go wrong. I mean, that's why I got involved. I'll tell you, a few years ago in Sunnyside, we had a proposition where the city council was considering approving recreational marijuana within the city of Sunnyside. And I was part of a battle. I helped lead a battle to stop that. And it was about a 3 or 4 year battle. So I'm willing to roll my sleeves up and do battle. I want to talk a little bit about the mask issue right now.
Good, yeah.
Okay.
I was just going to ask you about that,
Okay.
right.
We had, unfortunately, we had a health district meeting on Wednesday, and the governor cut us off at the knees just a little bit because he had a press conference the same day where he said, I am really concerned about the issue of having masks on kids. I've made this known to the governor's office. We have, as commissioners, we have put together 3 proclamations and a letter to the governor saying we need to take the masks off. I look at the COVID numbers closely, and yes, we can say that case numbers are going up in the county right now, largely among unvaccinated, but not exclusively. We're seeing hospitalization numbers. I mean, they're up to about 24 right now, and at one point they kind of hovered between 5 and 10 for a while. But let's put this in perspective. 6 months ago, we had 71 people hospitalized. So yeah, has it come up? Yes, but I think it's a little premature to take the actions that he's taken. And the thing that I worry about is that just as we saw kids struggle with learning, from a remote location, they're also going to struggle when they come to school, and I'm glad we're getting them back to school. It is a step forward, but it's not complete because you come to school, and I think particularly about the 5 and 6, 7-year-olds that are coming into school and they're learning how to speak and sometimes learn the language and how to even learn how to communicate and enunciate and form the words and the facial expressions and just being people with each other, learning how to socialize. I mean, it's about the learning, but it's not just about the learning. So I've actually, since the governor came down, I've spoken to representatives we have in the state, and we'll continue to look and say, what can we do? We have to push back. I mean, there's, of course, there are things that we would like to do, and for example, when I first came into office, we had a conversation with our attorneys in the counties, like, what can we do? I mean, can we take the governor to court? What can we do? And there have been counties, there have been businesses, even private businesses, that have come and taken him to court, and unfortunately, everybody's lost. Because whether we like what he's doing or not, he has the authority. And the sad fact is the courts have upheld it, and the legislature gave it to him. One of our big priorities talking to the representatives, our local representatives, in last December was to say, can you figure out a way to, clip his reins?
Cap those emergency powers.
Cap those powers.
Yeah.
And they're on, our local representatives are on board with that, but unfortunately they're in a minority, and the other side just doesn't seem to see it the way we see it.
Ladon, your opponent Autumn cites your votes against on the health board against masks and stuff like that. Tell us how in reaction to that.
You bet. No, thanks for bringing that up because my vote was not a pro-mask vote. I have never taken a pro-mask vote. What I have taken is, I'll give you the one example that I can remember that people have wondered about was the health officer had put in place a masking order for the county, okay, and the health officer has that authority to do that. So when that vote came up, because the attorneys said you do not have the legal authority to overturn what he has done because by RCW he can do that. So I did vote no against that because we didn't have the authority. But I did follow up with another motion, which did pass the board, which was, let's make a recommendation that the health officer change that. We couldn't rescind his order, but we could say, you need to rescind the order. Okay?
So it's a technicality.
It's a technicality. But, now the interesting thing is, the next day, the CDC came up and happened to loosen their guidelines, partial loosening, which they said, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear the mask. And the first thing I did actually was I called the governor's office that day and say, okay, I know you know what the CDC has said. When are you going to follow suit? Okay, because I have that ability. And to their credit, and there's not a lot of times I feel I can give the governor's office credit, but to their credit, they did it that day. And then I went to the health officer. I went to the health district and said, okay, you should know by now that the state has followed the CDC. When are you going to follow and make the change? And they said, we'll do it right now. So it's a fine line, but I'm not afraid to fight. But there is, I do take an oath of office, which I've sworn to not only uphold the Constitution, and by the way, I am pro-Constitution. I've got a copy of it hanging in my commissioner's office. It's on the wall, and I revere it. First Amendment, Second Amendment, all of it. But I've got to work within the constraints of the law.
KIT News Time 8:55. If you're joining us, we're talking to District 3 candidate Ladon Linde, the incumbent in the race. Ladon, you're knocking on doors,
Yep.
big district.
It's a big district.
Same concerns as in the city that we're hearing, violence, homelessness, or are they different?
No, crime. The things that I hear, people are concerned about crime. People are concerned. I get a lot of complaints about homeless issue and how it has impacted, the county. I mean, it's throughout the county, but it's a really big deal here in Yakima.
Yeah.
I heard about it
Right.
in downtown. I heard about it on North First Street and on the Greenway. And we have taken action on that as a county commissioners, in conjunction with, partnership with others. This was driven home to me when I took a tour out there of the Greenway early this spring, and you wouldn't believe what I saw out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you have stolen property. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just shopping carts. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all, bicycles, lumber, where people are building stuff out there. I mean, it's crazy. But what I really saw that hit home was a mind-boggling amount of drug paraphernalia and evidence of sex trafficking out there as well. And so there is this image that the people out there are just people that are just down on their luck, and there's certainly that element out there, but there's also a lot of behavior out there that is destructive, or it's destructive and self-destructive, and we just can't allow this to stand. And so we actually, in coordination with volunteers out at Camp Hope and the Greenway, put together, and our code enforcement and some city officials put together a cleanup out there. We cleaned out well over 30 tons of garbage. But after we got done, I said, if we just do this again in a year and clean out 30 tons of garbage, we will have failed. So we've actually put together a partnership, and this is a partnership of all the people that own property along that river, along the Greenway out there, government entities, and as well as local service organizations. Camp Hope, but service clubs in the area, and we're putting up. It'll be a continued cleanup effort where code
Excellent.
enforcement will go out there and they will post notice. This is illegal camping. You can't be out here. We will offer services so that if they would choose to go into Camp Hope and Union Gospel Mission, we certainly encourage that. But if they don't, they can't be there because we have to respect the rights of our citizens, the people that use the Greenway, the business owners in downtown, and on North First Street. We have to balance that, and so we're working in that direction. And I think we'll see improvement there.
You've been a busy man in the last year. So tell us why people should continue to support you, Ladon. You got a bunch of people that call us our elevator speech. Tell us why that they should be voting for you.
Sure. Well, I guess I would say in short order that I have over 30 years of leadership experience between business, in agriculture, healthcare, as well as leadership in my church. I'm a family man. I have 6 kids, 10 grandkids. We've lived in the valley for decades. This is my home, and it's going to be my home, and I care about my home. I'm not doing this for personal gratification or to climb a ladder somehow. My goal is simply to be a county commissioner that people can feel good about and say, yeah, I know that he's working for my interests, he hears my concerns, and he's gone to battle for me. And I think if people look at my record in the last 8 months and evaluate it honestly, they'll know that that's exactly what I've been doing. And I'll continue to do that.